Hello guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this tutorial we'll be learning how to make this trending female waistcoat, which has been an inspiration for the recent fashion. If you'd love to know how to make this for yourself or for a client, stick with me to the end of this tutorial. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, do hit on that subscribe button, turn on your post notification, share this to family and friends who you think would love to learn how to make this. Like this video and comment if this was helpful or if you have any questions. Now let's get right into this. This is a very easy tutorial, and by the end of this tutorial you'll be wowed at how easy it is to make a waistcoat. These are all the drawing tools I'll be needing for this, and this is my pattern paper here. I'll be using this pattern paper to draw both the front and the back of this waistcoat. At the top of my pattern paper, I'll come down by 1 inch. This is to get my starting line. I'll mark that on both sides this way, and I'll connect this with a straight line. Because of the buttonhole we have on this waistcoat, I'll be coming in from the center front by 1.5 inch. This is to create space for our buttons. I'll mark that on the other side of this pattern paper just like I'm doing here, and I'll connect this with a straight line. Now that we have our starting line and our button space created, I'll be marking my vertical measurement. Coming from the starting line, which is also serving as the shoulder line, I'll be coming down by 11 inches. This is my bust point, so I'm marking my shoulder to bust point. I'll mark it on both sides and I'll connect this with a straight line. For the waistline, I have 17 inches, so I'll also mark that on both sides. Note that this is the shoulder to the waistline measurement, and I'll connect this with a straight line. For the neckline, I'll be marking 3 inches on the shoulder line here, starting from this buttonhole line I have here. Then coming down from the same point, I'll mark 3 inches and I'll connect this with a curve. After doing that, I'll divide my shoulder measurements by 2 and I'll be marking that on the shoulder line. What I have here is 8.5. From that point, I'll be coming down by 1 inch. This is for the shoulder slope. Then I'll connect this back into the neckline just like this. To get my chest line, I'll place my tape there on the shoulder slope. The chest line measurement is your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. I have 8.5, so I'm just going to mark that there. Using my rule, I'm going to connect this with a straight line. Now to get a straight line to the shoulder slope, I'm going to divide my shoulder measurement by 2 and also place that on the chest line. And I'll just connect this with a straight line into the shoulder slope just like this. Now before we can get the armhole curve, I want you to know that the armhole curve for a waistcoat is different from a normal blouse. The first thing you'll be doing is to come out from this neckline here by 4 inch. You can also use 3 inches. Then I'll divide what I have on this line here by 2. I'll mark the midpoint. You know, normally we'll come in from this midpoint by ½ inch, but here I'll be coming in by 1.5 inch. Then I'll mark that there. On the chest line, I'm going to divide my bust measurement by 4 and I'm going to mark that there. I have 10. I'll be adding ½ inch to this because of the little ease I need. This is a fitted waistcoat. If you want more ease, you can add 1 or 1.5 inch depending on what you want. Then I'm going to mark my stitching allowance, which is 1 inch. From this point, I'll also be extending my armhole depth by 1 inch. So from there, I'm just going to mark 1 inch. Now using my curve, I'll be connecting all this point together just like you see me doing here. After getting the armhole for the waistcoat, I went ahead to label my lines. This is my shoulder line, my chest line, bust point, and waistline. The next thing we'll be doing now is to determine how long you want your waistcoat to be. For me, I'll be coming down from the waistline by 6 inches. You saw how long my waistcoat was from the beginning of the video. If you want yours to look that way or you want it longer or shorter, it's all your choice. You can also take the measurement on yourself or your client to know exactly where you want your waistcoat to stop. So I'm going to mark this point here. I'll also mark that on the other side and connect this with a straight line. Now on this waistcoat, it's going from this point all the way to the side like this, but I don't want it to stop at the waistline because it's going to be short at the side of this waistcoat. So I'll be coming down from the waistline by 2.5 inch. I'll mark that on both sides and I'll connect this with a straight line. This 2.5 inches I came down by, it's going to be the ending of my side seam. Now I'm going to be marking my round body measurement. On the bust point, I'll divide my bust measurement by 4 and I'll add ½ inch. That's going to give give me 10.5 because of the little ease I want. You can add 1 inch or 1.5 depending on the amount of ease you want. I'll be adding my stitching allowance, which is 1 extra inch. On the waistline, I'm going to mark my waist measurement divided by 4 plus the ½ inch for ease. I have 8.5 here. I'll be adding 1 inch for my dart. Do not forget to add 1 inch for your dart and 1 inch stitching allowance. I'll be marking the same thing I have on my waistline on this line here, which is the end of my side seam. Coming to this point here, which is the last line I have here, I'm going to come in by 2 inches. I'll mark that there and I'll connect this into my side seam just like this. After doing that, I'll also be connecting what I have at my side seam. For the buttonhole, you have to determine where you want your buttonhole to start because that is going to determine how deep your neckline will be. For me, I'm going to come down from my chest line by 1 inch. I'll mark that there and I'll rule it towards the center front like this. And from this line here, I'll be coming up by ½ inch and I'll also rule it into the center front like this. My buttonhole, I'll be using 1 inch for it. I'll mark it on this line here and up this upper line here, and I'll connect this with a straight line. Now from here, I'll be connecting it back into the length just like this, and also the neckline, I'll be connecting it into the buttonhole just like this to form my neckline, and I'll just be outlining my shoulder. For the dart, I'll be marking half of my nipple to nipple measurements on the waistline starting from this buttonhole line here. I have 4 inches, so I'll mark that on the waistline and I'll also be marking that on the bust point. I'll connect this with a straight line. I'll also be marking 4 inches on this line here and I'll connect that all the way to the down part of my waistcoat. Now I'll be coming out by 0.5 inch on both sides of my waistline. At the bust point, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. This dart shouldn't be getting all the way to the bust point. Come down by 1 inch and then I'll be connecting this back into the 0.5 inch I came out by on both sides of my waistline. Then from here, I'll connect it straight down into the length of this coat. Note that you don't have to make it sharp at the end. You can just connect it straight down like this. Now remember that I said we are cutting both the front and the back together using this pattern. At the neckline, I'm going to come down by 1.5 inch for the back neckline and I'll be connecting this into the 3 inches I have there with a curve. Now let's go ahead and cut this out on our fabric, starting with the back. I already have my fabric on fold here because the back part doesn't have any zipper or opening at the back, so it's going to be cut on fold. The first thing I'll be doing to the pattern paper is to fold in this buttonhole line I have here, and then folding this other part here because we won't be needing it for the back pattern. Now I'm going to go ahead and place this on the folded edge of the back piece just like this. I'm going to pin this down before cutting it out just so the pattern paper stays in place. Now for the neckline, I'll be adding ½ inch stitching allowance to it. I'll be adding ½ inch to the shoulder and I'll also be adding ½ inch to the armhole. The reason why I'm adding ½ inch to the armhole here is because this is the back armhole and it's not meant to be the same with the front armhole. It comes out a little bit more than the front armhole. To the side, I already added my stitching allowance while drafting the pattern, so I'll just cut this out, and to the down part, I'll be adding ½ inch stitching allowance. I'm done cutting out the back piece. Now for my front piece, since I've already gone ahead to cut out my back piece, I'll just be trimming off my pattern paper to exactly what I need for the front. Now this is what I have here, and just like I did for the back, I'll be adding ½ inch stitching allowance to the neckline, ½ inch to the shoulder. I won't be adding any stitching allowance to the armhole. I'll be adding ½ inch to this side here and ½ inch to this side. I'll be trimming off this side because we already added our stitching allowance on the pattern paper, so there is no need to add it here. After cutting that out, now I'm going to go ahead and notch my dart. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and notch my dart. I'll be doing the same thing for the back. I already went ahead to cut out my lining also for the front and back. What I'll be doing here is to mark my dart. I'll come in from this point by 4 inch, and also I'll be marking 4 inch here. Around this part is where my chest line is, so I'll mark the 4 inch. I'll connect this with a straight line, and what I'll be doing here is to cut through. Okay, I'll be cutting my dart all the way to where my dart stopped. And opening this up, what I'll be doing is to go to my machine and stitch this down using 1/2 inch stitching allowance. I'll be doing the same thing for the front. I'm going to open on my dart up to this part, which is about 1 inch below the bust point. And I'll do the same thing. I'll go to my machine and stitch it down using 1/2 inch stitching allowance. After doing that, you can see what we have here. I've already gone ahead to iron this open, and this is how beautiful it looks. The next thing I'll be doing is to place these right sides facing each other like this, and I'll be using one of the front piece to illustrate to you what we'll be doing. I'll go ahead and pin down all the sides that I'll be stitching. After pinning this down, I'll stitch down from here all the way to my neckline and also the armhole. I won't be stitching down the side seam and the shoulder. For the back piece, I'll be doing the same thing. As you can see here, I've ironed open my dart seams and I'll be placing them right side facing each other this way. I'll go ahead and pin down all the places that I'll be making my stitch. After pinning that down, I'll be stitching this down on the down part here. I won't be stitching down the sides. I'll stitch down the armhole. I won't be stitching down the shoulder, and I'll be stitching down the neckline. After stitching this down, you can see what we have here. Now make sure to notch all around the places you made your stitch. This is going to help it to come out really nice in front. It's going to come out really nice and professional. You don't want it squeezing. After notching all these points, you can now go ahead and trim off the excesses you have from your stitch. After trimming it out, you can go ahead and turn it over. You can see here that I haven't ironed it out. It's already looking straight. Now I'm going to go ahead and iron this out. Now you can see what I have for my front piece. I'll now be joining the front and the back piece at the shoulder line. Normally to join the shoulder line would have been easier, but because the armhole is closed, what we need to do now is to insert the shoulder of the front into the shoulder of the back like this. I'll put my hand through the side and I'm going to take the front shoulder and the back shoulder together, just like you see me doing here. You can see what I'm doing here. I'll bring that out just like this, and as you can see here, the front shoulder is inside the back shoulder. I'll be pinning this down. Make sure you align it properly, and I'll be stitching this down using 1/2 inch stitching allowance. This way we are going to have a seamless finish and the wrong size hidden inside. Let's do this again on the other side. You insert your front shoulder into the back shoulder, put your hand through the side and take it out like this, and you'll see that the front shoulder is inside the back shoulder. I'll pin this down and stitch it down using 1/2 inch stitching allowance. After stitching it down, you can see what we have here. The next thing I'll be doing now is to arrange it like this, and we'll be joining it at the sides. You can see that our waistcoat is already coming out beautifully. Now you can go ahead and join it by the side by taking out your measurements and knowing what you have left of your stitching allowance. But if you want a more professional finishing, I'll show you how to go about that. What I'll be doing here is to join the fabrics together just like you see me doing here. I'll pin the fabrics down together without the lining first. Then I'll go ahead and pin the linings together like this, just like you see me doing. I'll pin the lining together just like this. Now to explain this better, I'll go to the machine. I'll be doing this on the other side also. Just watch to understand how to go about this. After doing this, you can see how beautiful this came out. Now the little space I left or in the lining to turn this out, I'll be top stitching on it. So make sure that you're top stitching just on the lining and not also on the fabric. So I'll just top stitch and you can see what I have there. Then go ahead and insert your buttons. For the buttons, I use 2 inches to space them, as you can see here, and that's all. We have come to the end of this tutorial, and I hope this was really helpful. Do let me know in the comment section, and also if you have any questions, you can ask it there. I will see you guys in my next tutorial.